rolling through this. Talk me through a little bit what you see from this national title game. What do you think the key matchup is going to be? How do you think this ends up playing out? And where do you think, how do you think it ends up? Who wins?
Yeah, this is kind of a sneaky thing that I've been thinking about just like in the last hour or so since it ended. But Baylor over the last 2 games against Arkansas and against Houston today got the 2 best games that they've gotten from Everyday John. Basically, since early December, maybe early January, since like the Everyday John profiles were being written and everyone was super fucking excited or whatever, right? He's been like not great since then, but over the last 2 games, he's been really, really good, and that's incredibly important for them as they set up to match up against Drew Timme inside.
Yeah, no, we talked about that and the importance of slowing down Timme. I really thought that the way, and Sam, you made this point on Twitter too. I saw that the way that they were able to use John to kind of open up shooters, with his roles of the basket, like that changes everything for what they want to do. Because like Flo Thamba, he has a great name, but he's just kind of he's just a guy out there, right? Like he's not really a threat. Yeah. And Mark Vital, as good as he is defensively, if you have him being someone that is kind of the guy making plays for you at the 5, like that's kind of what you want a little bit as a defense, right? But I just think like when you have a dude, he's so energetic, he runs so hard, Everyday John, and no one's going to jump at him. You give him a lane, no one's going to jump at him at the rim. So I just think that when he's playing the way that he did today, it changes everything for what they're looking for.
Well, the big thing is too that we're going to get this Jalen Suggs, Davion Mitchell matchup, right? And everyone's really pumped about seeing Davion try to shut down Jalen Suggs on the offensive end. I'm actually really pumped about the other side of the floor because Jalen Suggs, I mean, we saw it today against Johnny Juzang. We saw it in their previous game. Jalen Suggs, when he's engaged and really wants to shut you down on defense, he's a really good on-ball defender. Yeah. And if he can shut down Davion Mitchell and kind of close off some of those passing lanes for Mitchell and stop him from getting those clean looks that he got today because Houston's defense was just way over aggressive. That cross corner kick out was there every single time for Davion Mitchell. I just don't see as much open space for Baylor to be able to dominate in the way they did from a shooting perspective today.
When you say shut down, what do you mean? Because I mean, Johnny Juzang, I don't think he got shut down today.
Well, they put him on him in the second half.
The second half,
slowed him down in the second half.
Yeah, he definitely had his part of slowing him down. But I just look at him as a whole of shutting them down for the entirety of the game. And then I look back at the Creighton game as well with the shutting down. I mean, they beat the brakes off of Creighton, but still, like the shutting down, I kind of feel like initially it takes Suggs a little bit longer to get accustomed to the guard he's guarding. Like he picks it up and he finds what he needs to do later on as the game goes along. But early on, I mean, these point guards actually start torching. They just get worn down, I kind of think, more or less. Well,
they started him on Tiger today, and I thought he did a pretty good job early on Tiger, too. But the thing for me is he doesn't really even need to shut down Davion Mitchell. He just needs to cut off the passing lanes, I think. Yep. He needs to be able to get back in front, fight through the screen, and just make himself big so that cross-corner kick isn't necessarily there. So
that the dump off
to Everyday John isn't there. So that's what I mean by shut down. But, I don't think anybody's going to shut down Davion Mitchell. I think he's just got to close off certain angles so that he can't take as big of an advantage as a passer.
Yeah, and then the other thing is this, to your point about keeping the passing lanes from opening up for Baylor, the reason why Baylor has looked as sharp as they have here the last couple of games, you talk about Everyday John, but how about the fact that entering this game today, Jared Butler had been 6 for 24 from beyond the three-point arc on the NCAA tournament, and he starts 5 of 6. It's a make-or-miss game. I know that's simplified, but you know what? Those passes are coming from Davion. They've got to be completed with Maceo Teague, who's hit shots. But Jared Butler, if that Jared Butler is going on Monday, we don't talk about him off the top because of how impressive Jalen Suggs has been and how dominant Drew Timme has been. But can we talk a little bit more about Joel Ayayi and just how good tournament. I know maybe he's not the playmaker that a Jalen Suggs is, but you know what? In order to be the beneficiary, you better knock down shots time and time again. And Joel Ayayi from the start of the Creighton game to tonight, and Nembhard, like for me, where this game gets decided potentially by numbers and just in nature is if those passing lanes are open for either Suggs or Mitchell, are the beneficiaries of those passing lanes, Maceo Teague and Jared Butler for Baylor, Joel Ayayi and Andrew Nembhard for Gonzaga, are they knocking down perimeter shots? Because if they are, both offenses turn from where they are to even another level. And Ayayi, to me, has been such a constant in the scoring column. You could have great playmakers, but remember we were watching Cade Cunningham march Oklahoma State up and down, and nobody is helping this guy out. For me, Ayayi is the ultimate, hey, I am going to cash in on you, Jalen Suggs or Andrew Nembhard, and I'm going to hit this big-time shot. And he's hit them time and time again in this tournament.
Shit, he had 13 out of 23 at their points initially. Like he was, and without a miss, he was phenomenal to start the game off today.
Yeah, he started 7 for 7, I think it was. It was unbelievable.
Crazy.
Yeah, the thing for me, I didn't really notice what Gonzaga was doing in terms of how hard they were tagging onto rollers versus how hard they were staying attached to shooters for UCLA in this game. Like, to me, that's like the number one thing. Like, are we going to get situations where Jalen Suggs is going to, like, you know, decide to double team someone in the post like he did at the end of this game, giving Jaime Jaquez, if I remember, was it Jaquez or Juzang that got the wide open three from the corner late in the game? Like, are we going to get
it was Juzang. It was Juzang. I ranted about that already, Sam.
Did you? Yeah. Are we going to get an over-aggressive Gonzaga situation where they're helping on to the rollers and helping onto the post and then leave these shooters wide open, or is Gonzaga going to stay at home on the shooters? It's honestly, it's an incredibly difficult call because if Everyday John is playing as well as he is and rolling as hard as he is to the basket, like I feel like you have to at least give him some respect in some regard, just because he's going to be right next to the rim. Like
the one thing that well, I was just going to say the one thing that Gonzaga did really well today was just having Timme hard hedge and basically blitz the ball handlers and try to get it out of their hands. I don't know if you can necessarily do that against Davion Mitchell without getting Timme into foul trouble right away. And I also think that might have just been like a game plan specific thing for UCLA because they're not really a great ball screen team. They're really just trying to get the matchups they want and get isolations, whether it's Johnny Juzang or Jaquez or Cody Riley in the post. But that was an interesting wrinkle. I didn't expect Timme to be blitzing ball screens the way that they did.
Yeah, they had him ruffle. But question though, what do you think that this will be that difficult for Baylor? Like as far as like what they're gonna do in their ball screen offense versus Gonzaga? I feel like seeing Davion Mitchell and then seeing Drew Timme there as any coverage is like, I feel like Baylor wants that. Or if it's whoever, it could be Jared Butler, it could be whoever. I just feel like the guard scenario in comparison to their bigs, like Baylor's bigs can defend it. And if Everyday John can defend it, then they have Vital there to defend it. And they still have Thom, but they have a lot of people. Mayer, it can sometimes play those positions. But I feel like on the other end, they don't have that many, they don't have much of a leash when it comes to ball screen coverage, which is why I see where you're saying that it's important for Suggs to make sure he gets back and get into the lane, because any four of the guards that Baylor have, the really good guards, I can't see Drew Timme stopping them from getting anywhere on the floor in their coverage.
Yeah, totally. And then, kind of what Rob was saying too, one thing that UCLA did in terms of an adjustment was they started using Johnny Juzang as a screener at times early in the first half. Yeah. And it wouldn't surprise me if Corey Kispert's going to have to guard one of these four guards probably. And my guess is what Baylor is going to do is they're going to try and get Kispert in space. They're going to try and get Drew Timme in space, obviously. And if I was Baylor, I would just keep running Kispert. I would keep running screens with Kispert's guy, and I would force him to defend. And
screens though, would you do screens? Because I looked at Jaquez today. He didn't need a screen. It was like straight line drives. Like they were like Yeah, it wasn't much screening. It was just like
You know
right
what?
to left
Yeah.
and straight line drives.
You know
You
what?
can run slip exchanges. You can do a whole lot of different stuff, but I'd be running a lot of different ball screen exchange or, different sort of looks involving Kispert's man where he's coming up and being forced to at least make some sort of communication defensively to where they have to do something.
Because then here's the other thing. When they have to do something at a certain point, like you just said with Jaquez, whether it be a screen or not, that action alone is going to apply pressure towards the rim.
Exactly.
And so even if Baylor doesn't get a great result at the rim, they certainly have the guys from beyond the arc to make Gonzaga pay for that. And what you're going to have happen is that puts pressure on Kispert, which then, if we're going towards the rim, puts some additional pressure on Timme, and that might open it up further for Baylor. So I think there's a ton. I said this, Sam and Da'Sean, I said this early in the pod tonight. Like, there is no one that had a better day besides Jalen Suggs than Scott Drew, who got to sit back after a really non-stress win from tip to buzzer, and now gets to watch this game, see these teams go punch for punch in overtime, and really gets a look at, hey, how do I hang in the event that Gonzaga scores 93 points like they did tonight? Like we were saying earlier, if I had told you before the game Gonzaga's going to score 93, anybody would have said, Gonzaga's going to win the game then. UCLA's not going to beat Gonzaga. Well, UCLA put up 90 points. Tonight is just a great blueprint in every way, shape, and form ahead of a national title game. It shows the greatness of Gonzaga. It shows it of UCLA. But I think it says to Baylor, here's how we need to go about things on the offensive end of the floor. Because I think people say all the time in this tournament, and rightly so, how is anybody going to keep up with Gonzaga's offense when Gonzaga's offense is churning that well? Well, tonight, UCLA gave us a blueprint of how you can do it.
See, that's where I actually disagree, Fanta, because I think I think Baylor's going to do what they do. I think UCLA tried to tailor their game plan to trying to slow down Gonzaga, but Baylor's going to be like, fuck that. Like, we're Baylor, like we if we didn't have a COVID pause, we would be undefeated right now. And I think that they're just going to do what they do, which means they're going to get out in pressure. They're going to attack the offensive glass, and they're going to run. They're not going to be afraid of Gonzaga's transition game because they're basically going to say, if we score, you're not going to be able to run on us. So I expect this game to be like in the 90s.
Here's a good question for you. Do you think Baylor attacks the offensive glass as heavy as they typically do in this game, or do they kind of respect Gonzaga's transition approach a little bit more and maybe send some guys back into transition defense a little bit more?
Send three. They're sending three.
Yeah, I think they're going to do what they do.
If they do what they do, I don't know. I'm not sure if I like Gonzaga if Baylor does what they do. I mean that. I do. I do think that they have to adapt some things to beat Gonzaga. I do. Yeah. I think Gonzaga's earned that right. Like, that's just sure. So maybe agree to disagree on this. I get Gonzaga's or I get Baylor's FU attitude, but like, I do think there's certain things that you don't want to play into Gonzaga's hands, and some of the things Baylor does can play into their hands a little bit. I'm just saying.
That's why I say that him sitting here watching the games today, like you were saying, Fanta, he can't really mimic much of what UCLA did because UCLA, obviously their two wings are as far as ball dominant and they could score one-on-one, but they also had Cody Riley also who can score the ball in the post, and they needed to require a double team. As much as I love Everyday John, it's going to be almost like Christian Bishop. It's going to be ball screens and rolls to the basket. It's not going to be giving the ball in the block and make him figure it out. It's not going to be that way for Mark Vital either, or whoever else are going to have played a five. The only other person I would think that can figure out from the post, and he'll probably figure out for more of a jump shot, would be Mayer. And then after that, it'll be perimeter dominant. And some of those guys in the perimeter, I would think Butler, who's a hell of a scorer, but also he needs that ball screen because he's not going to just blow by as many people because of athletically. So
I guess heading into Monday, it's not that I'm sitting here and saying Scott Drew needs to do what Mick Cronin did. It's not.
No, I understand. I was just thinking they don't have the personnel to do it. Period. I just feel like they would have to do their own thing. Like they would have to play like Baylor because they couldn't even mimic that because they don't have the pieces to do so. They just have those guards pieces that are great.
Look.
And honestly, like doing what they do, I think is a good matchup for them against Gonzaga. Like I think that they are going to cause Gonzaga problems on the defensive end.
So
like their offense, I think, is gonna like wreck. To be honest, like I think they are going to score points on Gonzaga. It's just whether or not Gonzaga can score enough to keep up. And look, this is one of the best offenses that I've seen in college basketball. Gonzaga's offense, like I think it's an unbelievable group, but I don't know. Like I think that Baylor has a good matchup in this game.
But
really
here's the thing. I don't think that there is, as much as we were just talking and raving about Everyday John, even Flo Thamba, like I don't think that Baylor has anything close to a good matchup for Timme.
No,
like, Timme might fuck around and get 40.
Yeah.
And then
you think Everyday John is good, could give up 40 to 10 to not 40. I mean, obviously, like you think he'd give up a good amount.
Well, okay, so 40 might have been like
not 40. Obviously, I knew what you were saying. It's like you think he can get like 15 plus.
Are you suggesting that Gonzaga may have to slow tempo in this game and keep feeding Timme?
No. I think what's going to happen is they're going to run. I think you want to beat Baylor's defense down the floor. Because I think what's going to happen is Baylor's going to send 2 and 3 guys to the glass. So anytime that you get an off defensive rebound, you're going to be able to like hit an outlet guy and go. You're going to be able to grab and go if you're Joel Ayayi or Andrew Nembhard. You're going to be able to grab and go if you're Jalen Suggs. So I would expect Drew Timme to get at least 4 to 5 buckets in transition because he's going to run the floor better than anybody else on the court. I expect him to get at least 15 to 20 post touches. Whether or not he scores all of them, who knows? But I don't think that Baylor has a good option for him, right? I don't think that they have a good answer. Even a guy like Mark Vital, so much of what he does is based off of the leverage and his ability to kind of wedge you out because he is so low and is so strong. But I don't think that works on Timme because he's so slippery and he's so good at changing the angle of his seals and changing the angle of his post-ups. Like it's his footwork and his understanding of how he needs to angle his body to create the lane for him to get a pass that leads him straight into a layup where all he has to do is catch it and go up. It's I don't know if you can teach that. I think that he just figured it out and knows how to do it. It's unbelievable watching him.
I think everyday John do a good job defensively on Timme. It's just that he won't be able to make Timme exert himself defensively. I don't think he'll be able to get a bucket out of him unless someone else gets him the ball. So at the end of the day, Drew Timme will win in that regard because he'll have a break almost, not to disrespect every day, but just he'll have a break defensively and then be able to just focus offensively on the game. I think Gonzaga will have a hard time guarding their guards, though.
Yeah, I think the issue with Timme defensively is going to be what happens. It's just the ball screen stuff, like figuring out how you're going to deal with that. Especially like with the way that Davion has been playing, like out of the ball screens, like you can't switch it because you can't stay in front of him for Timme. He's so good at driving right and finding that weak side corner pass, so you can't like string out the ball screen and hedge and not hedge and tag with the weak side corner because that's not going to work. He's so good at finding that pass. I wonder if what you do is you tag with the high man, like double team him, tag with the high man, and then dare him to throw like the hook pass over his head to the opposite wing. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
He can do that too easily, though. Like
but you won't get anything out of that. I feel like because what you're gonna have. Crashing into their guards. Like,
here's the thing: I don't know what you do. Like, I don't know how you stop this Baylor offense. Like, I don't know.
Here would be.
How do you stop this Gonzaga offense?
That's a great question. Which is why why we're betting the over, Fanta.
I'll go on record right now.
We're betting the over.
Okay, here's what I'll say. I'm going to say this right now. I thought Baylor was world beaters today and came out and played their best offensive game maybe of the tournament. I know that they also scored 81 against Arkansas. They scored 78 today. I just thought from a start of the game perspective, they could not have been firing on all cylinders more offensively than they were against Houston today. I will say this, though. I don't know if and I could be dead wrong about this. I don't know if I don't see Baylor's half-court offense being any better than what it was today against Houston on Monday. I mean, I trust them, and I think they have the ability. Sam, you brought that up. There's no question you like this Baylor offense, and I do too. I'll go on record and say I believe in Mark Few's ability to get Gonzaga certainly he's going to motivate this group and say, look, you gave up 90 to UCLA. You play defense like that on Monday, we are going to lose. I expect a better defensive performance by Gonzaga on Monday. I do worry about their ball screen coverage, and I do worry about Baylor's speed. But I just have a gut feeling that Baylor will not be as effective on the offensive end of the floor as they were tonight, even as they have been in their last 2 games. I still trust Gonzaga more, and I got to say, it sounds like you guys are starting to lean towards Baylor in this national title game. I'm not going there.
Well, the thing is, I don't think Houston is Gonzaga by any means, but Houston was one of the best defensive teams, if not the best defensive team in the country for a good bit.
He dropped a was
because they just lost. So
R.I.P. Houston.
But Houston didn't have any problems like I felt defensively at a certain point, but Gonzaga literally, Houston shot terrible, and sooner or later they just ran out of gas against Baylor. Baylor shot absolutely unconscious. They're shooting 50% before halftime. They're freaking killing them on the glass. A team that's known for their defense and known for how well they do on rebounds. Baylor is literally beat them at their own game. Granted, that's Baylor's game as well. And if I look at Gonzaga in comparison to Houston, yes, offensively, light years better than Houston. But their guards are susceptible to really not be able to stay in front of Baylor's guards. At certain times, obviously you're going to have to worry about Vital being out there at a 4 initially. But then if they move Vital to the 5 and bring Mayer, or if they want to play completely small and bring Flagler, I really don't see, besides them losing height in a sense, I really don't see how Gonzaga guards their guards. And I kind of feel like Baylor has a little bit more to bring on the floor than Gonzaga has. Today, Gonzaga played a lot more of their bench in the first half because they needed to. But then I didn't see most of those guys in the second half. They didn't play.
So if you're Gonzaga,
you're getting underestimated.
I guess I'm just trying to figure out what I think they're going to do. Do you try to maybe use Suggs to play denial on Mitchell to try and keep the ball out of his hands, and then play aggressive, super hyper aggressive ball screen coverages, and they pulled out that 1-2-2 light press earlier? Do you try and do that to speed them up? I think their best chance is to try and force turnovers and to try and get these pick 6 opportunities that they are really good at creating. And Baylor's been middle of the pack this year defensively or offensively in terms of turnovers. They're okay. They don't necessarily take care of the ball at an exceptionally high level. But I feel like they're just too athletic. I feel like Baylor's too athletic to do that. That's just begging to get beat down the court. I don't know what Gonzaga's going to do. I think it's a really, really weird matchup for them.
And if you took your best player, and granted, Davion Mitchell's been playing great, but today, he had 12 points and 11 assists. If you take your best defender and just focus him on Davion Mitchell and just give Jared Butler the reins to just have the ball in his hand, and that's what Jared Butler has done before. He's had the ball in his hands and has come off ball screens and made plays. So it's all right, you're going to try to take Davion Mitchell out by possibly denying him or possibly doing anything else when there's also 3 other weapons on the court, not counting their bigs. It's just all right, we'll just stand Davion Mitchell in the corner if we wanted to and just have the same scenario where we can make you guys have to go into the paint, stop the roll, and then go ahead and play the drive. Or play the shot for Macy Teague and whoever else that's going to be out there, Flagler and these guys. I really don't see besides Gonzaga just being amazingly gifted offensively as a team, because they're great. But I just don't see what they can do defensively to take Gonzaga out or take something away from Gonzaga, unless Gonzaga just shoots the ball terrible.
So here's what I think I would do if I was Gonzaga.
You got Baylor winning this game, Day?
Yeah, man. I got Baylor. I know what you guys are doing, but I got Baylor, man. I think I'm kind of talking myself into Baylor winning this game, and I don't like that's where I'm ending up. But it's the idea of Gonzaga being able to get enough stops to win the game. Because my biggest issue is that if you can't get stops, you're not going to be able to get out in transition. And where Gonzaga is at their best is in the transition game. They're unstoppable if you can let them get out and run.
And I think that what Baylor can do defensively can really mess with the things that Gonzaga wants to do in a half court, right? And when they provide the amount of ball pressure that they have, that's going to make it difficult to get the ball into Timme. And that where I think you have like your best advantage is going to be in the post. And so I don't know. I'm worried about it. I'm worried about it. I would be very worried about it if I was a Gonzaga fan. I'm going to be fascinated to see what Mark Few decides to do.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of with Da'Sean.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I kind of think Baylor has a very real specific matchup like advantage here in a lot of ways with how small they're able to play. Like Adam Flagler is really good.
No,
like,
really
that's a
is.
real problem.
Yeah.
That's a real problem for Gonzaga.
Well, Baylor's one of the few teams that has more guard weapons than Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let alone Baylor's 4 other guards that are better, or 3 other guards that are better than Adam Flagler. Like it's
right.
It's a weird deal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, look, I'm gonna pick Gonzaga in this game. I understand the ideas about Gonzaga's issues with guarding Baylor. Baylor has a matchup edge. They have more speed there. I guess I'm looking at the way Baylor performed from beyond the 3-point arc. I don't know if I don't see the same thing happening on Monday, and I'm going to trust that Mark Few finds something. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's going under stuff a little bit and living with certain shots being taken by Baylor. I'm curious to see. Look, to your guys' point, like Drew Timme, there hasn't been an answer for him, and I don't think Baylor has that answer. So that's why I alluded earlier, like for me, I understand the whole idea of you want to get up the court against Baylor and keep them out of their half-court defense. But there's also the element of if you know you've got an advantage in the paint with Timme, you're comfortable. You need to be comfortable, and they should be, and they will be, trying to exploit that when Baylor is in their half-court defense. They've got to hone in on that and keep on giving Timme touches. Rob threw out the 40 figure. But, Rob, we all know you weren't saying he's going to finish with 40 points. We're saying you have to treat it like that in your half-court offense approach.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen. All right. I want official picks for every one of them. We're going to get out of here. Day, you got Baylor?
Yeah, I got Baylor, bro. I can't foresee them if Gonzaga starts switching and they get Corey Kispert on the perimeter with Davion Mitchell or Jared Butler or any. I don't foresee it going well. Like they're not going to go to a mismatch in the post, similar to how UCLA tried to do tonight, or similar to how UCLA tried to do tonight. They're going to go and use their guards to attack the mismatches, similar to how Baylor did against West Virginia and other teams like that. Like they took the guards they felt or the bigs they felt were mismatches defensively, and they just attacked the basket and went downhill, found other people, found guys on their team. And that's the mismatch that I feel like Baylor will go to.
Sam, where are you at?
Yeah, I'm basically with everything that Da'Sean just said. Like, I feel look, like I have a 9-1 future on Gonzaga, like that I bet in the preseason. So
you win either way.
No, like I'm as inclined to root for Gonzaga as much as anyone on this one, but. Yeah, I just think it's a really tough schematic matchup for them unless like the way that I see Gonzaga winning is if they're able to force a lot of turnovers and they're able to take advantage of Baylor crashing 3 guys to the glass and creating transition opportunities off of missed rebounds or off of missed shots and defensive rebounds. Do I think that will happen? No, I don't. Unfortunately, I think that Baylor's offense is going to have a field day. And look, part of this too is like did Gonzaga play that poorly defensively today, or did UCLA make like?
Oh, I thought they played really, really well defensively, and UCLA made the shots that Gonzaga wanted them to take. If you had Johnny Juzang pulling up from 15 feet off the dribble with Jalen Suggs getting a hand in his face. You live with that shot if you're Mark Few.
Yeah,
if you have Riley hitting 17 footers, hit like 19 of them, that's a shot that you live with if you're Mark Few.
Not to mention Juzang and Jaquez, like how big are these guys? Like 6'6", 6'7"? Like,
yeah.
like these dudes are like in comparison, like you can see those mid-range shots going in because they're looking over the top of a lot of these dudes' heads and shooting them. So Baylor to even give Fanta and Rob a little love. Baylor, their guards are like 6'1", 6'2" a piece. Like, so they won't have that kind of size advantage over, Gonzaga's guards. I mean, they're going to be eye to eye with them, and as opposed to UCLA, who could shoot over the top of those guards mid range and get to the basket, and then have a little bit more length to finish. So, it'll be interesting. I'm excited to see, but I got to hold on to the Baylor Bears, man.
Yeah, I'm with Baylor. Do you have a total yet, Rob?
160.
Over.
Yeah. No, hammer the over on that. Hammer the over on that.
It
where are you at?
It wasn't even a second. Over.
Points. A lot of points.
Well, the two defendants, I will call them, have put together some absolutely fantastic arguments here. And I have to say, you have been very convincing to this prosecutor on the other side.
I never thought I'd see you on the other side, fan. I never thought I'd see you on the other side.
Every champion has that moment on their run that makes you say, oh my God. And this one was the epitome of, oh my God. I thought Gonzaga was tight at times tonight. I thought there were moments when they didn't look like the full version of themselves. I think the total is absolutely going to go over 160 on this game. With that being said, if Gonzaga finds a way defensively to overcome the Corey Kispert problem of Baylor's four guards on the other side and how the Zags are going to be able to defend that, I am riding with the unbeaten Gonzaga Bulldogs in this game. 32-0 becomes a reality, and here's why it becomes a reality. I believe that Jalen Suggs and Davion Mitchell kind of cancel each other out, and for me, Joel Ayayi and Andrew Nembhard combined for 45 points in this game. They both go off, and Gonzaga does enough late in the game with Timme creating matchup problems. The Zags find a way. It is a 4-point game, nip and tuck. Zags do just enough to win this game. Mark Few does a marvelous coaching job, and I like the Zags in a very tight game. I am taking Gonzaga because of Ayayi and Nembhard.
Do you like it? Do you guys see what he did right there? He said it's going to be a 4-point game. So if Baylor ends up winning, he can at least say, "Yeah, pick Baylor to cover." See, I told you. Smart.
It's a win-win. The man has been doing this for a long time.
Veteran of the conference game here. I'm with you, Fanta. I think that the size that Gonzaga has on their perimeter with their guards will be enough to be able to put Baylor off. I think it's going to come down to how many contested threes will Baylor be able to hit. And I was a little bit I feel good about what Baylor can do defensively against Davion and Jared Butler coming off those ball screens after watching them be able to blitz everything that UCLA did. So I'm going to stick with Gonzaga. I'm gonna I had them after the first game of the season. I'm going to stick with them now. No point in changing at this point if they got to the national title game. So I'm just fired up. I'm ready for it. I cannot wait for this game.
It's a dream for college basketball. After going a year without March Madness and the way the last 13 months has gone, this is the most anticipated national championship game that we've had in quite some time. It's tremendous for the sport. In the midst of chaos in the transfer portal and the coaching carousel revving up, the game on the court is delivering, and then some. Monday night is going to be great for college hoops.
Facts. I can't. We've been waiting on this game for the entire season, Rob. Like this has been like literally this has been the game that's been keeping me in the dumps because I'm like, man, I wish we could have just saw this game during at least during the conference where they could have scheduled a non-conference game in conference somewhere. I was like, please schedule the game. It never happened, and here we are. We're here.
You know what?
How many?
To your point, Da'Sean, just quickly, Sam. Remember 4 months ago when Gonzaga Baylor was canceled? I remember the takes out there because like the casual sports fans were entering the fray because it was going to be top two teams in college basketball, and I remember seeing all the tweets. I don't know if college basketball can get through this season. They might not make it. This is really bad for the sport. How are they ever going to get there? 4 months to the day that the game got canceled, these two teams are going to play. It's an applause to the kids, the coaches, the NCAA, everybody that's made this happen. We all know it's been hard. It's been a bitch to pull off. But, man, 4 months to today, we always said, like Goodman tweeted it all season, Scott Drew and Mark Few, give us this game. Guess what, guys? They're giving it to us for the title.
How many times have you guys broken down this game this year, Rob and Da'Sean? Like 4?
Probably like 17.
Even in our own time, like it's just like behind the scenes we talked about.
Hey, do you think Gonzaga could beat Baylor?
It's just like we're just a random conversation, just like Jeez, well, listen, I cannot wait.
This has been fun. We will see you guys all again. I'm going to be on the stream again at 9 a.m. tomorrow with Goodman on Easter morning. I get to go see Jeff Goodman at 9 a.m.
Happy Easter, everybody!
There's a place to heaven for you, Rob. There's a place.